Hi, I'm Sarah with the Volusia County Public Library System, coming to you from the Ormond Beach Regional Library. And on today's episode of Volusia Gets Crafty, I'm going to talk to you about a project for the upcoming year. So if you're interested in memory keeping or scrapbooking of any kind, you might be interested in a project like this. They're called temperature blankets and mood blankets. And how they work is that each day for a year, you crochet a row of a blanket in a color that corresponds with either the high temperature for that day or your predominant mood for that day. So by the end of the year, you'll have a 365 row record of either the weather or your feelings for that year. So obviously this is going to be a big blanket, you guys. 365 rows is a lot. You're going to want to use your shortest stitch that we've learned. So the single crochet is going to be your best friend here. Now, if the idea of doing this for a whole year seems a bit daunting to you, you could try it for just half a year. Go January through, say, June. And in that case, you could probably get away with using a double crochet or a half double crochet if you prefer those stitches. So next up, I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer. I'm going to talk to you about some color keys that I've created and how to get started on a project like this. Okay, so these are a couple examples of color keys. I based them off of examples I saw online. They'll kind of fluctuate depending on where you live in the country. So because we live in Florida, this would probably be the one you'd want to try to base yours off of because it has temperature ranges that are more in line with our climate. But I know we have a lot of snowbirds here, so I wanted to include also an example for colder climates too, because obviously your temperature is going to fluctuate quite a bit more. So these are just a couple examples. You don't have to attach the yarn examples to the end. I just did because I thought it looked kind of cute. So feel free to adjust the colors of the yarn to colors you have on hand. You don't need to go out and buy specialty yarn for this. It just seemed to be that most examples used the warmer tones for the hot temperatures and cooler toned yarns for the colder temperatures. Another thought I had is if you wanted to incorporate a specialty yarn for days that we had maybe a weather event like a hurricane, or if you live in the north, if there's like a snowstorm or like a thunderstorm or a very bad like tornado, you could incorporate that with like a metallic yarn or a sparkly yarn to kind of show that in your overall Afghan. But this is the example I made. Obviously it's not as wide as a blanket would be, but I wanted to kind of show you the effect that you would get. As each day the temperature changes, your color will change. And you can see that some days you'll have a lot of the same temperature in a row, so you'll get more blocks of color. So if you don't like the look of a constant change like this, if you took your temperature key and you just adjusted the ranges a little bit, you can make them bigger if you didn't want to change the color as often, or if you like what you're seeing here, this is what I based it off of. I went and looked at some old temperatures for Florida. This is actually the first 3 months of this current year that I did for the example. So how you'll do it is you begin with just a chain. So you'll take your yarn and you'll chain up a length. And what I suggest is that you hold it up to a blanket that you like the size of, and then add on one extra chain at the end. Because remember, when we work a row of single crochet back along a chain, you always skip that first chain from the hook. If you're looking for more of an exact number, some examples that I saw online used started with a chain of say 200. So one day, like I said, will correspond with one row of color. And that's the high temperature for that day. So you can watch the news at the end of the day or look online to see what the temperature was for that particular day. Now, if you don't think you're going to be able to keep up with that every day and crochet a row, of obviously a longer blanket every day, what you could do is log the temperatures all week, and then come the weekend, you could crochet 5 or 6 rows in one sitting. And then you can also play with, this is just single crochet, guys, but you could, if you liked crocheting in the back loop and the texture that created, you could use that instead of just crocheting into both loops. You could also use the moss stitch, which we have filmed a previous video of, so if you want to revisit that, you'd be good to use that because that's what uses single crochet. You would just want to be sure to use an even number of chains if you do the moss stitch. Also, if you are more of an advanced crocheter and you have a favorite ripple or chevron pattern, by all means you can try that. I would just try to look for one that uses single crochet, obviously, to keep it rather short. Volusia Libraries also have a lot of crochet pattern books if you're looking for inspiration. Coming up early next year, I'm going to have a couple videos probably in February, about how to read written patterns and crochet diagrams. So if you're interested in that, that'll be coming up real soon. I also wanted to show you, I mentioned mood blankets. So that, instead of documenting the temperature, documents your mood. So you're going to start off with just a list of emotions that you tend to feel, and you can dedicate a color to that particular emotion. And you can use a single crochet blanket just like this and do it just like the temperature blanket, but just use your emotions. But I also saw online that you can use granny squares. And because this is a big blanket, guys, I would make them very small granny squares, maybe 2 or 3 rounds at most. They're often in solid colors. You could join them as you go so that they would stay in somewhat of an order. But that's just another option for you if you wanted to try and incorporate a variegated yarn for days you maybe had a changing mood, that it wasn't the same throughout the day. That might be kind of fun too. So most people start these on the 1st of the year, but if you're not completely ready to go, you can log the temperatures or record your moods and catch up and start anytime. Just keep track and know when your year is up. So play around with it, guys, and have some fun with the colors and your pattern choices and see how far you can get through the year. Hopefully we'll have some really pretty brightly colored blankets, mood blankets, by the end of next year, fingers crossed. And don't forget, Creative Bug has some really great tutorials available too, so you can access it for free through our library's website. Coming up next, I've got some cute heart projects we'll make in advance of Valentine's Day, so stay tuned for that. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.